All right, everybody, welcome back to the SmeeSports YouTube channel. As today we have a very special interview, an interview 3 months overdue. As for those who have followed us for a long time, know that we used to do some extracurricular games, so to speak, as we did some random softball games across the past couple of years before we went full time in the 24-25 school year. One of those teams that we did cover, Garfield Heights softball. And the reason why we did it is the man that is next to me on the screen, the now former head coach of the softball team and the former freshman football coach, Kurt Mariola Jr. Kurt, good to be with you today.
Hey, you too. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, this was a long time overdue, as I said in the intro. We were supposed to do this after senior night. Obviously, that game did get rained out, but you still did get to present the seniors with their specific awards. But first of all, what have you been up to as you haven't had to deal with the off-season stuff this time around?
Just been real hard, busy with working, spending time with the family as much as possible, and just been traveling, and just enjoying my time off.
I'll ask you about Mr. Whiskars in a little bit, as that has been something that has been near and dear to you for a long time. But now that you're not coaching, that is something that you have put towards the forefront. But going back to your start at Garfield, your start didn't come with football or softball coaching wise. It came a long time ago. Walk us through your Garfield Heights journey, even outside of athletics.
We moved here to Garfield, me and my mom, when I was just in third grade. Um, then went through all the years and got to the high school level, and I ended up having a season-ending injury in my freshman year in 2013. It was a tough injury too. It had put me out of sports for almost a year and a half with a broken foot, some other stuff going on. So I ended up starting coaching youth football in Garfield. A great mentor of mine, his name was Ken Sparks. He had asked me if I wanted to start, coaching and helping out with the youth, and I had said yes. And ever since then, through all of my high school career, was just all about coaching the young youth.
And then you took that past your high school days to then become a coach later on in your life. Just talk about your time with the football team, as you've talked to me a lot about, especially one game in particular, that one big victory over that one giant from Lakewood.
Yeah, that St. Ed's game. We had went in. The game was at 7 p.m. It was going to be under the lights on a Thursday night, so we ended up having Thursday night lights out at St. Edward's High School. That beautiful facility, and we were sitting at the school, waiting for our bus to leave. We're in the locker room, and we're just having that one talk. Like, hey, this is one of the best programs in the state. Doesn't matter what, if it's a freshman A team, B team, or whatever, they're good, and they come out with 76 players and only 21 got off my bus that day. And, that game was a lot of focus, but we were able to pull away. I mean, we just played really good defense that night, but our offense just wasn't there. But defensively, we had 3 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries, and we only gave up 75 rushing yards in 4 quarters on a St. Edward's team that can run the ball very well.
And that St. Ed's team ended up winning a state title together 3 in a row. If I'm counting your timeline correctly, I believe that was 2020 and 2021. So then you space it out. That's a class of 24 and 25.
Yeah.
The class of 24 and 25, it may not have been in their senior years in the case of 25, but they won a couple state titles. So you guys beat a very good team there. Then after your time with the football team, which I know you, I'm sure, would have preferred staying on for a little while longer and continued your coaching, but that just wasn't on the cards. You then have an opportunity to take over a softball organization that has had a lot of woes over the past 10, 20 years. You came in blank slate. You had to teach the basics from day one. Just talk about that first season. A lot of your star players, that was their sophomore year, and you guys maybe didn't go as far in the playoffs as you would have hoped by the end of their time at Garfield, and same with you. But you still made some really good ball players out of those girls that you pretty much had to build up from the ground.
Yeah, I came in. I got a phone call from the former athletic director before he had left Garfield after that season, actually. And he was like, "Hey, we'd really like to have you as a softball coach. We don't really have anyone else to rely on but you. Would you be willing to take it over just for this season?" and you don't have to move forward with it if you don't want to the next year. It's only for this season. I said, yeah, sure, it's fine. And we showed up, and I met two decent players I really enjoyed coaching. Was Akila Adams and Ali Guzman. Then we just started building from there. That first year we had 2 weeks before the season started. We only won one game that year. Went 1-15. They had to go play a tough Medina team on the road, but we had no experience at all. It was very minimum to zero experience, but two players, Ali and Akila. That was it. So I only had a pitcher and a shortstop for the sophomore years.
And then you go into their junior years, your second year, first time being the full-fledged head coach of a varsity program, and you decide to do something that really has never been done in that area, or if it has been, it's been a long time. Back in that sophomore year, you guys visited a young girl, Skylar O'Neill, when she was battling a very rare form of cancer. She did end up passing away from it very soon after that. But that was not the end of her story in your guys' eyes. You guys did something really incredible, and that was a Skylar O'Neill Memorial game. Just talk us through that decision to make that happen. That was an emotional night for everybody involved, whether it be on the Garfield side or the Akron North side as well.
Yeah, the girls really, it touched the girls, in that first season. We had, got to visit Skylar and her family. I mean, my girls were just in tears, on that bus going back to the school. And we ended up canceling practice that day because the girls just couldn't, deal with it that day. It was tough, and all the girls can never stop thinking about her. So in that off season, I had talked to Ali and Akila, Yanin, some of the players that I knew they were going to be here for the future with me. And they're like, well, can we do something for them? And I said, well, we can do a softball game in their memory, and we're just going to have to work it all out and plan it out. But this has to start now. And we started actually playing in that in August of their sophomore year going into junior year. We started that in August, and the game wasn't even until April, and it took that long to plan it out, get the school district involved. It came to getting our athletic director, Mike Cruz, involved, his secretary, superintendent was involved, the mayor was involved. Just a whole bunch of people got involved in this, and it has made it, a really fun time and a fun game and a great atmosphere. And we got a great win out of it. And, that was one of our highlights of their junior years.
And even beyond Skyler, that was a special night for Fred Freiberger, the head coach of Akron North at the time, as I believe it was his daughter who passed away a long while before that due to cancer as well. That was just a great gesture of giving him flowers, I believe, after the game. Just walk us through that decision as well. It was one thing with Skyler. These girls knew who she was. It was another going to the other coach and extending that olive branch.
That just comes down to the sportsmanship of my girls that, we have started. And when I coach, I only coach respect, dignity, and sportsmanship. If we can't have that, then you can't be in a program that I coach at. But it's just honestly just returning the love for another coach that lost someone special in his mind. He traveled 45 minutes from Akron to come all the way up to Garfield to play in a game that he didn't really know too much about. And they dressed in black and pink and did the same thing as what we did. We just did the opposite colors, of pink and black. And for him to do that, it just touched all of us. And um, we had asked the girls if we wanted to do a flowers, and we, bought flowers for him and his wife, and we just decided to do that at the end of the game. That was kind of like a last second decision.
And it was a great decision as that was very well received, a very emotional night all the way around. I know that I had an opportunity to speak with the Garfield Heights mayor on air. Everybody that was there, whether it be media or as a spectator, parent, fan, you name it, it was a great night all the way around. Going now to your last year as the head coach, 2025, going in, you had a good idea that this was going to be it. I know we had talked a couple of times leading up to it, but I think it was a decision that you made around the end of March. I remember a phone call that we had. I think it was in and around the last week of March, and you said officially that you're not going to be coming back. Just talk about that decision and how you still were able to go out there each and every day and give your best for those girls, knowing that that was it.
You know, there was a lot of thoughts back in 2024, through the summers and through the falls, and once I got in the winter time, I really had just settled down a lot more, and said, I think this is going to be it. I've been doing this in Garfield Heights for over 14 years. This was my 14th season this year, and I have missed weddings, anniversary dinners, um, uh, and just it's tough to miss a lot of that, due to football and softball. And I have a great family. Some of the family doesn't even live in the state. So I kind of like to travel and see them more and build my bonds with all my cousins. And once I got into that March area, I had took it to the AD director that I think this is going to be it. This is going to be like my farewell tour at Garfield Heights. I love Garfield way too much, but I just knew after a long 14 years at Garfield that this was going to be it for me.
And I'm sure that farewell of leaving home was going to be a very tough one for you. Over half your life was Garfield at that point, but you're not necessarily done with the Bulldogs, as I'm sure once we hit December and once Sonny Johnson and those guys are back out on the basketball court, you're not going to be able to stay out of the building for too long.
No, I've actually been back in the building a couple times already, to visit, Mike Cruz and his secretary, and just see everybody. Because Garfield is home to me. It's always going to be home. This is I bleed blue and gold. I graduated from here. And the city's done a lot for me. But it was time to return the favor these last 14 years.
All right. Coaching aside, all of that aside, you have another new adventure that really isn't new. It's just been reunited, I would say, over the past couple of months, and that is your TikTok presence as Mr. Whiskars. A decent presence over there. Just walk us through that and your fishing, as not many people know, unless they know you personally, that you are actually a pretty good fisher.
Yeah, so I started that back in 2023, when I was actually just beginning to coach the softball team. And last year, I fished a couple tournaments, and a good fisherman of mine was like, "Hey, man, you're really good at what you do. Why don't you just go independent and make your own fishing channel?" And I never really had the thought about it and doing it. Well, this year in January, it was on January 5th, 2025, this year, I went independent as Mr. Whiskars, made my own fishing channel. And today I'm sitting with a pro staff, and I'm also being currently sponsored in fishing now.
I'm sure that has been a very rewarding journey for you. Very similar to mine with Holy Name Broadcasting, then go to SmeeSports, where you're with an organization and a group first. And then when you take that independent step, it's scary as it's a big unknown. But once you get there, it is rewarding. Before I let you go, I do have to ask, as we have talked about this a good amount over the past couple of months, are you going to be in a dugout near us next year? Or is this going to be a gap year or even beyond that? Have we seen the last of you as a coach?
Um, you have not seen me last as a coach. I plan on returning somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be next year. Um, I have taken two phone calls so far this off season, but I have declined both of them. I'm not going to say what school districts, but it's definitely in the talks with my assistant coach, former assistant coach, Rich Statola. Wherever he lands, I might join him on his staff if he would be hired. But I've talked to another coach that was in the LEL conference. Not going to say that one at all, but me and him have talked about merging the coach together at a school next year. But right now, I'm just sitting back tight, listening to any offers that come in for baseball, softball, and football. But right now, it's just chill out, relax with the family, and wait till September and October to really see where I'm going to land.
That's a pretty good answer. And I agree with that. You want to make sure you end up in the right situation. With this next job that you take, it's not going to be like the last one where 2 weeks before the season you're thrown in and you have to work with it. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's going to be a more calculated decision. Final thing before now I can let you go. 14 years at Garfield, whether it be as a student, as a coach, as just somebody who loves that school and loves that district. What is your closing message to them after so long being there? And then here's the kicker of it. Do you see a return to Garfield at any point in your coaching career, or is this going to be it?
Like I said, I love everybody at Garfield, Sonny Johnson, Max Stevens, the athletic director, Mike Cruz. Everyone has treated me with nothing but respect and love for the city. And they know that I love this school district and I love coaching here. But it was just a decision that I had needed to make, and it was the right one for this offseason. Um, but I'm not gonna say that I'm not ever gonna come back. But right now, I think we're going to step aside a little bit and go somewhere else. But maybe in the future, I'll reunite with Garfield. Um, I've always said my goal is to always win a state championship in Garfield, either in softball, baseball. Um, so maybe if I go somewhere, get some more experience, and come back as even a better coach, learning how to run a program even better. Um, I was thrown into the wolves at Garfield. It was hard, but this past year made it a little bit easier on the coaching staff that I did have. I had great coaches, Coach Durden, Coach Satola. But I think right now we're going to stay, a little bit off Garfield. Even though I love them, I'm still supporting my Garfield pride. But I think right now we're going to be sitting somewhere, but not far from Garfield. I will tell you that.
That's, I would say, a good answer to that. Just given everything that you've gone through at Garfield, 14 years, it's always good to spread your wings a little bit, get some more experience, and then if the opportunity presents itself, as you said, you could be back with the Dogs at some point, whether it be soon or in the far off future. Kurt, thank you for your time today joining us for this interview. Once again, long overdue. Congratulations on a great career so far at Garfield. As you said, it could eventually be restarted. But for the time being, this first tenure, congratulations on all your success there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yep, you too. And as well as we close, make sure you go down below and subscribe. We're on the hunt for 5,000 subscribers. The goal is to get that by the end of the year. We have a lot of great things coming up, a big announcement for fall coverage coming in the next couple of days. And on top of that, at the end of the year, we have the big one, the NEO Youth Elite Christmas Classic, all 13 games. They added one more this year. Look forward to doing that once again live on the channel. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next time.